Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
Hey, this afternoon we have the privilege of being able to talk to Doug Brown, who's the founder of CEO Sales Strategies. Very interesting business model that I think when he shares, we'll have the audience wanting to learn more about it. And we'll have Doug at the end share where you can reach him in terms of contacting him for what he does and his specialty. But I want to start off by letting Doug have the floor and having an audience to talk about how did you get involved in this type of consulting? And more importantly, this growth partner role. Describe what that's all about. Please share, Doug.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dennis, firstly, for having me on here. I'm very grateful to be here. How I got into consulting, quite frankly, was by accident. My degrees were actually in biology and nuclear medicine. I was going to be a physician at one point. And then I was in the military and the Gulf War came. And I was part of that. I got my letter, so to speak, right?
Okay,
so,
right.
Guess where you're going. And so long story short, when that ended, then I had to wait a year to get into medical school.
Okay.
And during that time, I started helping people with their businesses. They were just asking me questions and I was just kind of coaching for free and kind of get in there. And then somebody said, "Hey, can I pay you?" And
Not a bad deal. I like
no,
that.
because I had student loans, and so I was like, sure.
Yeah.
And then we got great results, and so it just sort of organically started growing at that point. Then what happened was I helped a guy named J. Conrad Levinson. He wrote a book series called Guerrilla Marketing. So this was a long time ago. Jay's no longer on this earth as we knew him then. And Jay introduced me to a guy named Chet Holmes.
Okay.
And Chet wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And it was the best-selling sales book for 7 years.
Wow.
And I asked Chet's company, could I coach with them? Could I start with that? And then I quickly became their top producing coach. So I started taking over different divisions. And one of them was the consulting division. And along that path, a gentleman named Tony Robbins came along and wanted to buy into the company. So for 7 years, I ended up becoming the president of training and sales for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. And we literally were working with thousands of clients every single month.
No doubt.
And yeah, so that's kind of how it organically started spinning out. And then eventually, Chet also passed on. I mean, Tony's Tony. Tony's, bigger than life.
Yeah.
I went on to help.
Figuratively as well.
Yeah. Very tall man. It's funny because I'm only 5'7.5" and Tony's like 6'7" or something.
Yeah.
So it's like when I was standing next to him, it was like that Guinness World Book of Records picture, where the tallest man and the shortest man, right? And I learned a lot from him. And then I went on to help a bunch of other companies in that industry, as well as, traditional business to business companies, all the way from unknown entities to Procter & Gamble, Nationwide, CBS Television, and more.
Okay. Well, so obviously a rich background, which led to you now figuring out what you want to do when you grew up and figure out, hey, I got a job now. I'm going to do what I want to do, not worry about what other people want me to do. So when you look at what you're currently doing and you think about what is your ICP, your ideal customer, who do you want to go after as you grow your business currently?
That is the most important question that somebody can actually answer in their business. And so for many, many years, because I could do so much, that was kind of varied all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I've worked in over 350 different industries at this point.
Wow.
And so one of the things that I had to figure out was exactly that. And what we really specialize in is taking sales teams, building, growing those sales teams, but not just for revenue, but for profitability.
Okay.
So a company traditionally doing 10 million to about 80 million is really kind of the revenue range.
Okay.
Have we worked with larger companies? Yep. Done Intuit, things like that. But what I really love is the founder-led businesses. Sometimes they're 5 million and up, but it's that founder-led business who the founder is willing to make the decisions, who has a sales team who wants to grow it and wants to be far more profitable. So, in accounting speak, the EBITDA. They want to grow the EBITDA, not just grow the revenue in the company.
Yeah, I saw that in your background. It fascinated me. So why don't you define to the group what that means?
Yeah, it basically means operating profit. So it's essentially sales minus cost of goods or cost of delivery, and then kind of the profit that's there. And that is the metric that a lot of people place a valuation or a value on a company. So let's say we're a $10 million company and we have a 20% EBITDA. That means we have $2 million. And let's say that we can get 7x for that company. That company will
14.
sell at $14 million. Now, if I can take that sales team and get them from 10 million, but we go to 12 million and we bring the EBITDA up to say 30, now we have 30% of 12 million,
3.6.
Yeah, 3.6, right? So now when you take 3.6 and if you still could only get that same 7 multiple, you're now going to sell that company for 25 million versus selling that company for far less.
Yep. All right. So how do you and your team improve their sales proficiency?
So, well, firstly, we have to look at where they are today, and then we figure out what we call the growth map.
Okay.
So the growth map and the growth plan. So the growth map is here's where we are today. This is the map of what we're at and what we want to do. And then we design the plan around that. But I will tell you, part of the secret sauce is we are doing revenue growth, sales revenue growth tactics, if you will, and strategies that actually will drive profitability.
Okay.
So, and a lot of these things are where companies are not really paying attention to. And there's a lot of things in what we would call gap zones. So gap zones would be the handoff between departments.
Okay.
Right. So let's say marketing, for example, they generate a lead and they're going to pass that to the sales team. But the sales team isn't picking that lead up for a week. And then
so the lead's cold.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the sales team hasn't picked it up for a week. So the lead now is far less warm than it was in the first place. And so once it's now doing that, then eight competitors have already been calling on that lead, so to speak, right? So what we do is we can take that lead time from a week to 5 minutes, and put things in like that, because you can see statistically, it's very clear that if you can get to a lead within 5 minutes, your probability of closing that lead is exponentially higher, like insanely higher, depending on whose statistics you want to believe. But I mean, all the stats show it. And in practice, I can prove it to be true. So we'll look at every little gap zone that's going along, like maybe what sales to operations, like, oh, wow, we have 5 orders that have been sitting there that were supposed to be installed, but they're not installed. And 2 of them now are refunding. So we're looking at that because that's just money dropped right out of the company, right? We'll look at things like dormant clients. When's the last time you've called upon your client base? I'm working with a client right now. We're calling leads. We put together a team. We're calling leads that are 2 to 5 years old. They haven't been touched in 2 to 5 years. And
you're basically starting over again, but you at least had a contact level. So you're reactivating a dormant client.
Well, and the fun part is in the first year on this dormant client base, we're now on track to do between $3 and $5 million in sales.
Outstanding.
Right. And so there's gold sitting. There's a lot of hidden revenue and a hidden profit in companies. but people just don't know where to look.
You know what's so funny is, and I'll share this with you briefly because that's what I do for a living. I work in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, and that's my specialty.
Yep.
And most of it is how do you reactivate dormant clients? So
Yep.
what you're talking about, I live and teach every day. And more importantly, on the mortgage side, it's the communication once the lead is generated, whether it be online or some methodology they saw on social media, you've got to be in touch with them. Because the problem is, as you mentioned, if you mentioned Intuit, I've worked with Dan Gilbert in many projects and with Rocket and those type of groups. And so
Yep.
they're excellent at that immediate contact from lead to contact. The
Yes.
challenge is, so are 10 other lenders. And so
Yes.
what happens is the poor borrower gets harassed to daylight the minute they go ahead and put any inquiry in for a refinance or
Right.
look at something for a payoff on a statement on a bank loan. It's just out there and they just get mauled by everyone calling them. So how do you help these people differentiate in your profession why that client should work with the people you're working with besides speed? There's got to be a proficiency level that you have to get that client interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes back to the ICP, right? It goes back to the
Mhm.
messaging on the ICP. And it's interesting because Rocket Mortgage, pre-Rocket Mortgage, we worked on that division and Intuit.
They were Quicken
and
before that. Yeah.
yeah. And so, they had a check division that used to sell checks, paper checks and other
Okay.
things. And they were doing around 100 million on that division, and they were losing money on that division.
Wow.
And because they were calling upon the same clients, as you were just saying in the mortgage business, I had a life insurance business, a life insurance company.
Okay.
It's the same thing, right? There's
Yeah.
15 people calling on the same lead very
Yeah.
quickly. And so in the case of Intuit, what ended up happening is they were calling upon these people and trying to sell them paper checks because paper checks were the
Still
big
being
thing.
used. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were like, hey, yeah, I need checks. Yep. Okay, great. Well, what's the price? And they would tell them, and it was like twice the cost of the competitor. Because now, you had companies like Vistaprint and a bunch of these internet companies who were coming in and just printing checks at far less cost. So they were frustrated, and the sales team wasn't able to close very well because the messaging was messed up.
Right.
So what we got to find out in all cases is, what does that client really want, need, value, fear, desire, all of these things. And most people will not take the time, Dennis, to actually go look at these things.
Well, that's where your expertise comes in. So let me pose a question to you. How do people find out about you? Is it through referral, advertising in some form on the internet? Do you do, besides your podcast, what else do you do to generate interest for people to work with you?
Yeah. So kind of all of the above. So we do what we teach our clients. You've got to have a minimum of 6 different ways generating incoming business into your business.
So what are your 6?
Well, we have a podcast.
Okay.
We have publishing. We have speaking. We have direct ads. We have affiliate relationships. We have joint ventures. We have, believe it or not, cold calling still. A lot of people like, why do you cold call? Because it still works.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there is opportunity out there.
And we have referrals. So what's that one? That's
8. You're about 8 right now. Pod, public. Yeah. You're about 8 sitting there right there. So that's great. So you have a team who does that, obviously, or you put together the coordination of all this. Which of those yields the highest returns?
Ooh, that one varies. But I will tell you that speaking is something that usually will pick up clients because of the positioning of the expertise, if you will. Podcasting has been, doing podcasts like we're doing right now has been fruitful. Okay. Traditionally, in the larger size accounts, peer referrals are going to be your number one best seller.
I would agree. And also, when you think about from point of contact, when someone does contact you, Doug, or your company, what's the time frame from initiation of a discussion to fruition of a contract? What's that normal selling cycle?
It's usually within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow, that's quick.
Yeah, it usually is, because what we do is we set up a pre-screen call, and then from there we figure out, is there something to talk about?
Right.
And then we set up a longer duration call. And then I like this model for me. I like actually taking a short-term engagement to get everything together and make sure we can work together.
So a pilot program?
Yeah, usually somewhere between 60 days and 6 months.
Okay.
Depending on the complexity of what we're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with that selling cycle being short, but then offering a reasonable term to do your work together, how do you keep that client? So your retention plan to maintain clients and not have to go get another one, but keep that rich base of clients. How do you retain them? Is it a contract, or is it obviously what you deliver?
So the whole idea that people kind of miss in this industry is you've got to leave the client better off than when you started.
Kind of.
No matter what. I mean, that's the goal, right? So the mistake that people make in this business is they try to do medium and long-term strategies before they do short-term return strategies.
Yep.
So I'll go after the lowest hanging fruit that will bear money quickly. And so let's say that our short term, like, I don't know, let's say we do a 3-month engagement and we'll pick a number, $25,000, 30 grand, something like that, right? I will go after and get more money back in the first 60 days than they actually paid us.
There you go. And that's for them, that return on investment, they're looking to make sure that they're justifying why they're bringing you guys in. And so if you have that good ROI, then it's more of a easier decision for them to make. So
Right.
So you primarily go after founders with your initial discussion, or is there
Yes.
entry level people you got to navigate through to get to a decision?
No. Well, every once in a while, but for the most part, I will only go after the founder or the CEO of the company, but traditionally that they're also the founder.
Well, that's why CEO Sales Strategy is the name of your company. I like that.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense. All right. So looking at what you see in your future as you look ahead, where do you see the biggest challenges to your business model?
Believe it or not, decision on direction, because I'm 64 years old right now, right? So it's kind of like money's not my issue anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as I start to get older, I start to look at I look at life differently than I did when I was 35, so to speak, or even 40, right? Kids are grown, things of that nature. So right now, what we're trying to actually, and we're having active discussions about this, is how do we build our personal life first, then our business around it?
Okay.
And so that's adjusting the need of the business, because so many people think they need to scale a business and they need to have it as a autonomous running machine. And that's okay if that's what you want, but some people just want practitioner type businesses. And this one here right now is starting to lean toward a practitioner business where I'm only going to take 3 to 5 clients a year and just work with them. And then I have other businesses that will be the other type of businesses that traditionally people go, hey, you don't have to be at them, and now you have a business.
Right.
If that ESBI quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki made so famous.
Right. The thing that's interesting is what you're trying to do is moderate how much time you have to invest that because you want your personal time, you want your for your family or whatever you choose to do, your hobbies, your desires, but you also still want to keep your business active. So
yes.
Are you developing someone internally who can you're mentoring to kind of do what you need to do or replicate what you do in some way?
It's a great question. And actually what we're doing, and the answer is yes. So we have people internally who are actually actively can take the accounts.
Okay.
And two, we're actually considering what we do, because we have it's a specialized niche in what we do. And we have proprietary software we built and diagnostics and all of this stuff. We're actually thinking of creating an opportunity for other people to learn what we're doing. Because generating a multi-six-figure income is really, a doable thing for people doing what we're doing, and actually teaching those people, and not really franchising it, but sort of creating like a train the trainer.
That's what I was going to say, is train the trainer.
Yeah, type model.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I worked at Xerox Corporation right out of college, and was a national trainer in Leesburg, Virginia for 2 years. So learned their model of how to you develop people. And part of that was we would have IBM would send their trainers to our training facility, and we would train our competitors.
Yeah.
That's how good our Xerox training was. So it was always fun to train the trainer, but I understand what you're talking about. So let's talk about when you see your future, where's your biggest opportunity? You talk about your challenge. Where's your opportunity for growth, and how do you want to get to that point of maximizing your opportunity?
Yeah, and I see the train the trainer type model. So there's two things that we do that are huge opportunities for us. And one of the things is that we do a performance contingency, like we'll do performance as part of our engagement. So a lot of consulting companies will walk in and they'll want these big high fees. And so it makes it a bit cost prohibitive for some people to be able to take that risk.
Right.
So, if somebody's walking in and saying, yeah, we'll do this for $35,000 a month, it really can bite into the EBITDA pretty quick, if you will.
Real quick.
Right. So what we'll do is we are now adjusting fee down for a percentage of EBITDA growth or a percentage of revenue growth in the process. And companies really like this. Most of them, founder-leds, really like this, because we'll bring the resources and things to the game. And so they don't need to invest in those resources a lot of times. And so then we're working together as a company, and that creates longevity. I mean, I've had clients for 7 years doing the same thing, right? So we brought it in, installed it, and it's worked so well, for the company that they just want to continue to do it. And then we become part of that, even though we're an independent company, we become part of that business process of their company.
You're integrated into the whole group.
So that is a scalable thing for us to do. So and that's well received. And, so I see that as an opportunity, and it's been validated. The other thing that I see as an opportunity is the train the trainer model, where we do it differently. Instead of, again, really, it can be like, hey, if you want to walk out on your own and do this, here's the cost to do that. But if you want to utilize all our proprietary stuff that we've developed over all these years, then, there is some type of performance fee that we're going to work together into that process. And again, there's where I get the leverage out of the business, and we can stay actively involved in helping people grow their company.
So are they independent contractors who come to you and they want to go ahead and be a part of what you offer? And so you train them on your methodology.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus they're not an employee. So and then if you provide the trainer program, they're paying a fee to you for the program. And do they pay an ongoing fee, or how do you work with them so they're desirous to keep doing more with you versus
so we're providing all the tech for them. Like literally they'd have to spend $600,000-$700,000 just to build the tech, of what we've already built.
No one wants to do, right?
Exactly, right. So it's kind of a turnkey, it's a turnkey operation for them, where they can get in. But one of the things that, because I've coached so many consultants or coaches and advisors over the years, they get themselves stuck in their own rut. You know what I mean? Like they get their. So one of the things that we do is we provide ongoing training in that capacity, which is not just like, how do you sell more, but it's
Right.
how do you develop yourself? How do you develop your clients? We'll go through and work
It's coaching.
clients with them. Yeah, exactly. On a regular basis. Right. So, and that's like we were talking about in the beginning of our conversation. It's like a lot of people go after these medium and long-term strategies, and then the client burns out and they lose them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you titrate the client the right way so that the client wants to stay? I mean, how many consulting clients stay for 7 years? I mean,
That's pretty unusual.
I mean, we had another one who we've now no longer are working with, but it was called CBR Richard Ellis, a company. You probably may recognize that from the commercial real estate business. But, I mean, we had that client for 7 years, working in Europe with them for 7 years.
Wow.
So there's a process to it where a lot of people will come in, they'll get into this, and then the client's gone in 6 months or a year.
Right.
And then they got to replenish that client over and over and over and over and over. And, that's more costly to do that for sure, because, getting a new client is far more expensive than retaining the existing one.
Maintaining, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Most of your gold is always in your backyard. You just got to know how to harvest it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a great way of saying it. And for businesses too, most of the gold is sitting in the business.
Mm-hmm.
They might even have the data, Dennis, but they just don't have the visibility to read the data the right way.
Yeah, or they're on top of it too much in the day-to-day activity. They don't see the big picture from 2 miles above.
Oh, that's so common.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I've enjoyed it. I hope you have. I really appreciate you being on our show today. How can people reach out to learn more about you and your company?
Yeah, sure. If they want to email me directly, it's doug@ceosalesstrategies.com.
Okay.
My LinkedIn is Doug Brown 123.
Okay.
And if you just want to kind of know a little bit about me, just type in Doug C. Brown revenue growth or something like that, and I'll be everywhere online. But you got to type in Doug C. Brown, C the middle initial, because Doug Brown used to be a professional hockey player for the Detroit Red Wings, and people think I'm that Doug Brown a lot of times. And I'm like, no, I can't skate to save my soul. So
got it. And it looks like you're in Houston from your area code. Am I correct in that area?
I used to be in Houston. Yeah, I was in the military, and then I was in Houston. So I kept my Houston number because a lot of people have it, but I'm actually in New Hampshire.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Doug, I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. Appreciate you being on Principal Podcast, and I look forward to your business growing and you flourishing. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me on. Very grateful.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.